Hey everybody, it's Mark, MrBookieboo, and I'm back with another Lego City update. This week we're going to do something a little bit different though, because I haven't done a whole lot of work in the Lego City. However, um, I'm actually going to give you a room tour because I have been doing a lot of work in the room, and I haven't done that in a while. We've been, I've been working in the city. Last week I had a breakthrough, did a lot of work in the city, but also I've been doing a lot in the room itself, getting it situated, getting everything kind of put away. And I do get a lot of questions from y'all about, what shelves do I use? What do I do? How do I store things? How do I organize stuff? And so I thought I'd give you kind of a behind the scenes look at that, but also just give you the room overview of where we're at and what's going on. So let's take a look at the room and let's see how things are going. Starting off at the entryway, this is the first thing you kind of see as you walk in the room. And so there's a few things to note. I wanted, of course, the city to be the focus of that, which you can kind of see as you walk in here. You'll see the city, ultimately the mountains once those get situated, and then you're kind of drawn into the room and you get to see all the other stuff as you kind of walk in. But that first impression, city, boom. Eventually I'm going to clean up this space underneath the tables here to make this just neater. I'd like to just do some kind of like simple paneling, maybe like veneer or I don't know, just even some white poster board would be nice. Just anything to kind of dress this up a little bit to make this look really nice when you first walk in the room. But this is basically the view as you walk in. So you walk in here and you're greeted by the city, which is really cool, because then as you walk in, you're like, oh wow, your eyes are kind of drawn, this way. And then we have these little pathways here, the peninsula for Ninjago Land, and then these little aisleways here that kind of draw you in and encourage you to get into the city to really see everything that's going on. And so you kind of can get in, you get the view of the downtown area here, which is coming along nicely. And then you get to go back to, that's the entrance over there to the right. And then you kind of get this nice perspective as you walk through here. Now, as you turn and look, build tables, of course, back in that area there, part storage, and then this is all display. So as you turn to your left here, and as I back up into the little city cutout here, you can see, so this is all of my display space. Now, initially I started with just 3 of these bookshelves. These are those IKEA Billy bookcases. They're very inexpensive. They're very effective. You can adjust the height of the shelves. I have them all the same for now, but you can adjust them if you want to fine tune them. If you have more speed champions or smaller stuff, you can get more shelves to stick in there and gain more, display space, or you can make them bigger if you have bigger sets. For me, I like to put the big stuff up top. So I have all my pirate ships up top there. And then of course, some of the other bigger sets as well, you can see as we kind of pan out this way. Now, as I mentioned, this initially started with just 3 Billy bookcases, but as you can see, these were actually the original 3 and they're full. So there's not a whole lot of room here. This is a nice little window too. This actually is a window out to the courtyard of the main part of the house, which is kind of nice because I get a little bit more natural light if I want it. I keep the blinds closed most of the time because we all know Lego doesn't like the sun and it likes to fade, but that's a nice feature as well. So back to these Billy bookcases, they quickly filled up. I realized I had more room on this wall. And so what I ended up doing as we come back this way is I added a 4th Billy bookcase. Now, actually, this is actually really cool that I have the Billy next to the Besta because you can see the difference. So these Billies are pretty much pushed against the wall. They're maybe slightly off, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so because of the baseboard along the bottom, but they're basically against the wall. The same with these Besta frames are against the wall, and you can see the difference in the depth, okay? So these Billy bookcases, you can fit 32 by 32 base plate sized things in here. So modulars will fit in a Billy. They'll come right up to the edge because this is a 32 by 32, and you see there's not a whole lot of room, but you can fit modulars in the Billy. If you have stuff that's bigger, you might want to go with the Besta because the Besta is deeper. As you can see, it's like about 4 inches deeper than the Billy. You can see that right here. So for larger sets or just things that may take up more space, like Star Wars ships, for example, the gunship would not fit on a Billy easily. It would hang out too far. Same thing with these sets up, like the roller coaster, the Ferris wheel. I mean, they're just massively tall, but they're also deeper. And so you have issues fitting this little overhang. And actually, if you remember, and if you were a keen viewer, you'll notice I did have the Ferris wheel on top of the billies previously, and it was actually hanging off the edge, which kind of drove me crazy because it's kind of unstable. It just doesn't look good, and it just was really bothering me. So the billies give you a little bit more depth to play around with. The carousel fits very nicely in a billy. I'm sorry, in a Besta. Not so much in the billy. It would actually hang off the edge because the carousel is bigger than a 32 by 32. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your shelving and your storage. And then you can kind of see back to the main entrance of the room there. Eventually we're gonna have a door there just to keep the dust out. But it's still on order because it's like a custom thing and it's weird. So more, again, you get this like view here as we kind of go. This is actually where I sit. This is the build area. So I'm actually in my build area right now. So I get a nice overview of the city as I build, which is great. That was really important to me. In my prior room, you'll remember I was actually had my back to the city, which was, you know, okay. You have to do what you got to do sometimes, but I love being able to look out and see the city as I build, which the build table is right here. It's still a mess. We got a lot going, a lot of different projects going on, but that's okay. And then of course, again, back to the storage part. So we have the billies, the Bestas, and we're still kind of filling them. I actually have a little bit of room. So if you want to take bets in the comments, how long is it going to take me to fill this space? Let me know. I don't know. We'll have to figure out a prize or something for whoever guesses closest to when it actually gets full. Just lots of, but this is also just lots of cool stuff in this area. The other thing I will note, if you were paying attention, so there's actually a sliding glass door through here. I covered it up with the Bestas because I realized, you know what, I'm never going to use that sliding door. I would much rather gain 3 more shelves of storage space than have access to a sliding door that just lets the sun in and makes it kind of, I don't know, not very useful. So that's what I ended up doing in this area, is adding more shelves, more storage, more display space, because you can never have too much. My stormtrooper just hanging out there, watching over things, guards the room when I'm not here, which is kind of cool. And then we have, again, more of the Bestas. This down below here, this is more Bestas. This is actually like a TV console Besta, which my storage bins fit perfectly in. So these are those Sterilite drawers that I love to use. It's kind of a mess because, again, we've got a few different projects. And so this is what tends to happen. And I think it happens with a lot of you. When you're building, it's well-intentioned to have everything, you know, put away and in its place. But as you're actually starting to build, you kind of start accumulating, and packages start arriving, you start accumulating pieces and parts. And these are overflow parts that don't fit in the bins. But I really need them for these projects that I've been working on over here. So it just kind of ends up, you know, being a little messy, but that's okay. I still have to clean up this area here, but this is also a really nice space to have the really tall Lego sets. So that, you know, the Lord of the Rings towers fit perfectly right in this area. You know, if there's any Star Wars set that's massively tall or huge, that might fit well in this area. You may have noticed the Millennium Falcon's hanging out up high there because it's a massive build. In this room, I don't have a lot of room for like those big UCS sets. I've kind of opted not to get them aside from the Falcon because I had to have the Falcon because it was just awesome. It still is awesome. But the rest of them, they just take up too much room. And you can see there's not a lot of the room for the tall stuff, the really big sets is still at a premium, even in this large double the space room that I have compared to my last room. Moving over in this area, you can see, again, so this gives you a really good view of the build table. So I did opt to get one of those sit-stand build tables so I can actually raise this up and lower it if you want to sit or stand. I haven't done much standing yet, to be honest. It's not as much as I was thinking. And then I just did 2 IKEA pedestal. These are the Alex drawers on either side. They're identical. And so these just give me a little bit of storage for like commonly used, it's mostly just junk, to be honest with you. But I do have some parts in the other one over there, like small dots and tiles and things like that. And then of course, just more storage, a little bit of display, but this is mostly the bulk of the storage is all back in this area. And as you know, I like to sort by color. So it's nice and colorful, it looks pretty. But it's also very functional, this area as well, because I'm right here. I can turn on my chair, quickly get to any of the bins that I might need and get to exactly what I need parts wise. Again, that premium space up top for the really tall stuff. This kind of turned into like the castle area. And of course, Apocalypseburg and a few other good things there. And then, of course, just these are just tokens and tchotchkes that I've gotten over the years, just sentimental things that mean a lot. My sig fig collection, tokens from various conventions, and of course the maxi figs, which I love, and some more castle stuff in here, because also my love of castle. I have a lot of my vintage castle all up in this area, and then some of the newer stuff in these two bays right here. And then, of course, I've showed you this before, but this was a critical design element for this layout, and I'm really glad that I did that, thanks to you, that all of you that encouraged me to do it. The aisleway in the back of the layout. So I could have easily pushed the city, and picked up, like 2.5, 3 feet of space here, but I would not have had the access to the back of the city, which has been proven to be extremely useful. So if you can incorporate that into your room layout, I highly recommend it. I know that it's not always possible, but just be cognizant of the reach of your city. This enabled me to actually go deeper on the tabletops here. So I've never been able to do that. I finally have my double track main line, which I've talked about for years and years, but I was limited in my old layout designs that I'd done, where basically the tabletops were 3 base plates deep, because that was about the limit of my reach for my arms. Now with the back aisleway, I was actually able to go, 4 base plates deep. It's actually a little bit more than that. And I love having the extra space and flexibility. It's so flexible. I was actually able to get double track mainline, row of modulars, and space for facades in the back, which I've never been able to have that much depth and accessibility. And so I'm super glad that I did do that. Of course, also with the layout with this way, using these IKEA tabletops. These are just a simple IKEA tabletops. They used to be Linmon, now they're called something else. They change names every couple of years. They also change dimensions, so be aware of that. And if you need tabletops and you worry they're going to go out of stock, get them now and don't wait, because once they're gone, and they do change the sizing every now and then, and it might mess up your plans, whatever you're trying to do. But the really cool thing with this, again, is I have massive amounts of storage space underneath the layout. So I like to use banker boxes to store a lot of the stuff. There's a few loose bits here and there, but for the most part, everything's in a banker box. Most of it's labeled so I can quickly find what I need. And the whole area here, it's like 2 banker box rows deep on the main part of the layout there. Even here on the smaller tables, it's still too deep. I just turn them sideways. And even in this area, it's just tremendous amounts of storage space, which is really nice. It gets a little messy. So again, that's why I want to figure out a long-term, like maybe curtains or paneling or something, I don't know, something to make the front look good. I don't really care so much about the back, but yeah, it's just really, really nice having that storage. So that's the room. That's where we're at. It's kind of been a juggling match for me between getting enough storage, enough layout space was the first priority, build space was second, and then display space was third, but while also keeping enough space for people to come in and enjoy the room. So a lot of times in the past, I made the aisleways very tight, much to my regret, as I would hold my breath as people would be walking in here and bumping into tables or bookcases and rattling things around. And so I've really been cognizant of that in this new layout, where I've made a nice wide aisleway for people to walk in. Even these like inserts here where the peninsula is, I tried to keep it so that you can comfortably get in here and turn around and move around. It's a little tighter since I got the bigger tabletop. So again, it's a bit of compromise, but that's okay. Everything we do is compromise, right? It's finding the best fit or what works best for you and your layout and in your room and your space. And so this isn't as tight as it could have been or as has been in prior rooms that I've been in. So it works out pretty well. And then as I go over here, even this area, initially I wanted to compromise. I wanted to push the desk back even more and try to get like bookcases here, but I was dissuaded from that. And I'm kind of glad that I did. It would have been nice to have the storage here or the display space, but again, having this nice wide area for people to move in. And actually, as people, I've had quite a few guests here, they do come in and they do actually go all the way around because they want to see what's back there. And they can see there's something, there's like access back there. When you look at it, you can see it. So I've had multiple people go in and walk all the way around to kind of like peek their head back there and see what's going on. So that's where we're at. Well, there you have it. Not quite so city update, more of a room update, but still an update regardless, and still a lot going on. It took me a while to build. I'm actually kind of an expert at building IKEA furniture now, at least the bookcases and stuff like that, and the tabletops. I can get those assembled in no time, but figuring out the planning and the spacing and how many to get and all that, it takes a bit to do that. And then also just to unpack things, because I'm still unpacking from the move, getting things situated, getting the stuff I want on display to have on display. Um, it's a lot, and sometimes it's a good alternative to building if maybe you're not feeling inspired, maybe you're feeling stuck with whatever you're working on, if you're doing a mock or something, or just not feeling it for whatever reason. It's a good time to do other stuff. Organize, sort. Sorting. Don't get me started on that. But but organizing, getting your sets out, rearranging your display, dusting your display, that's a critical one too. All those things are good alternatives to building, and you're still working with what you love and still doing what you love as well. So having said all that, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for the comments, the feedback, the friendships, everything. You guys are amazing, and I look forward to sharing more with you as I continue to work on my Lego room and share my hobby with all of you. All right, take care. Bye.